Okay, let's unpack this. So today, we are doing a deep dive
Cool.
into what is, and I don't think it's an exaggeration, really the advanced operational manual for human consciousness.
Mm.
We're exploring the science, the very specific mechanics, and of course the extraordinary claims in the material that informs Joe Dispenza's work, specifically his book Becoming Supernatural.
Right. This is the next level stuff.
Exactly. So if you're already familiar with the groundwork, understanding how stress keeps you in these identity loops, this emotional residue,
Mm.
this is the logical next step. And it's a demanding one. It moves us out of just uh, intellectual understanding and straight into the how-to,
The actual application.
the application of radical, measurable biological transformation. Our mission today is to really strip away the philosophy and just extract the nuts and bolts.
That's a great way to put it, because if the previous work was about defining the cage you're in, this material is the architecture for the escape. We're not just talking about abstract positive thinking here, not at all. We are analyzing a system that is designed to move a person beyond what we perceive as our physical limits.
The old Newtonian view of reality.
Precisely. Into a direct interface with, well, with the probabilistic realm, what's often called the quantum field.
And the core idea that we have to start with, I think, is a really provocative one.
It is. The core premise that guides this whole discussion is that we are actually designed for this. Our own anatomy, the heart, the brain, our entire nervous system is fundamentally engineered to access this unified source.
So we're looking for the biological pathway. How does an ordinary person access what we would call mystical states,
Yeah.
or experience a spontaneous physical healing, or consciously design an extraordinary reality?
Yes, and that's the key. So when you hear the term becoming supernatural, it's crucial to understand it not as some magical concept, but as a state of biological and energetic alignment. It really just means tuning the body and the mind to such an optimal frequency that, deliberate creation and healing, they're not miracles anymore.
They become the predictable output.
The predictable, expected output of a properly optimized system. So yeah, we're looking for the neuroscience, the hard data, the physical results like epigenetics that lend any kind of credence to this possibility.
Okay, so let's anchor this entire discussion in the foundational thesis, because it requires a massive mental adjustment right from the start.
It really does.
The central argument in these sources is that human beings are not primarily physical entities. We're not just bodies with a consciousness inside. It's the other way around.
We are fields of consciousness, and the body is the physical expression of that field.
That completely flips the conventional scientific perspective on its head.
It does, but the sources we're looking at treat this as a biological reality, not just a spiritual belief. The argument is that our anatomy, our hardware, is perfectly suited to move beyond a singular focus on the dense material world.
So our physical structure, our entire nervous system is built to go beyond what we can see and touch.
Exactly. Beyond what we measure with our basic senses, and to interface directly with this unified non-material field.
Think about it this way. Our entire culture teaches us that for something to be real, you have to be able to touch it or see it.
Mm-hmm.
But this framework suggests the vast majority of reality, all potential, all possibility, the blueprint for the future, exists in an unseen energetic state.
And our biology, especially the specialized parts we're going to talk about, is the equipment built specifically for translating that unseen energetic reality into tangible material experience.
This changes the entire conversation about who we are and what kind of power we have, doesn't it?
Completely.
It means you have to shift from the identity of, I am a body with a difficult past and limited potential
To, I am a sophisticated field of consciousness housed in a body designed to be a highly sensitive transmitter and receiver.
An antenna.
An antenna, that's the perfect analogy. And it's so crucial to internalize that concept before we even get to the mechanics.
Why? Why is that so critical?
Because if you don't accept the antenna concept, you remain locked in the victim state. It's that simple. If you think the body is just a mechanical device responding to the environment, then external forces, your boss, the weather, the economy, they always have the ultimate power over your internal state.
Right. You're always reacting.
Always. But if you recognize you are a field of consciousness, then your internal frequency, your broadcast signal, is the primary influence on your external reality.
So this process of becoming supernatural is really, it's just a process of frequency alignment.
That's all it is. Your mind and body are constantly broadcasting a signal. It's made up of your dominant thoughts and your dominant emotions.
And if you're constantly broadcasting worry,
That's the frequency you are aligned with. The whole goal of this work is to tune that frequency higher. Move it into a state of gratitude, love, or high potential. You are literally changing the nature of your reality by changing the nature of your internal broadcast.
And this creates a huge point of friction when you think about cause and effect. In the traditional model, the Newtonian model, we believe if I apply effort and time physical action, I get a result, a physical outcome.
But this framework suggests that the internal energetic state actually supersedes that brute force effort.
That is a profound implication.
It's massive. We shift from a reality where our external physical actions dictate results to one where our internal energetic states, our frequency, are the primary drivers of attraction and manifestation. The quantum field, this unified source, it doesn't respond to your physical struggle.
It responds to your coherent broadcast.
It responds to your signal. Imagine you're trying to build a new business. You're putting in 80 hours a week, right? That's the physical action.
Hustle culture.
Exactly. But internally, you are constantly radiating stress, fear of failure, scarcity. That's a low frequency. According to this framework, the dominant signal you're broadcasting is the fear. And the universe responds to that energetic signature.
And it manifests as obstacles or delays that mirror your internal struggle.
Precisely. Your body's state is either supporting your intention or it's completely nullifying it.
So if the body is perpetually stuck in survival mode, it's creating this very dense, low-frequency signal.
Right. And that makes it incredibly difficult to attract anything that exists on a higher frequency, like abundance or spontaneous healing.
It's like running too many background programs on your computer.
That's a great analogy. It drains all the processing power you need for the creative tasks. The internal energetic state isn't just a side effect of reality. The argument here is that it's the cause of reality.
And if the body's the antenna, we have to get it into a state of optimal receptivity.
The body has to be prepared. It has to be coherent before it can receive the high-frequency signal of the future you want. And this is the crucial setup before we can even talk about the mechanical pillars of coherence.
Which is where we need to go next. The mechanics of aligning that antenna. The sources are incredibly clear about this. Achieving this supernatural state relies on synchronizing two measurable biological states.
Coherence in the heart and coherence in the brain.
They're the dual pillars, but one is explicitly designated as the primary driver.
Yeah.
The heart.
The heart, yes.
And this is where I think a lot of people, especially those who are very intellectual, very focused on logic-based achievement, they experience friction. Why, according to this material, should we prioritize the heart and emotion over the vast processing power of the logical brain?
It comes down to measurable physical power. And the sources provide a really stunning piece of data here.
Okay.
While the brain is obviously incredibly complex, the heart has its own highly sophisticated neural system. It's often called the little brain in the heart, and it's independent of the cranial brain.
Right.
But the difference isn't just structural, it's electromagnetic. The heart generates an electromagnetic field, that is. And this is the key number. 5,000 times more powerful than the field generated by the brain.
5,000 times. That number is just staggering.
It is. I mean, think about that. If the brain is sending out a localized signal, like a tiny whisper, limited to your immediate vicinity, the heart, when it's coherent, is broadcasting a massive continental-scale radio signal. It is the central engine that determines the entire electromagnetic signature of your body and, by extension, your interaction with the quantum field.
So we found the magnetic part of the equation, but how do we turn on that immense power? Because for most of us, that 5,000x generator is just pumping out anxiety and fear.
And that's the key. The power is unlocked not through intellectual analysis or planning. It's unlocked through the deliberate generation of elevated emotions.
Okay.
The sources are insistent on this. Coherence is achieved through feelings like gratitude, appreciation, love, compassion. These emotions immediately reorganize the body's energy.
And crucially, this isn't just, fluffy spiritual work. This state is physically measurable. And that's the hard data we need to focus on.
Absolutely. When a person genuinely enters into a state of gratitude, their heart rate immediately shifts from a chaotic, stressed rhythm into an ordered, rhythmic wave pattern. This is known as high heart rate variability, or VFC.
So it's a scientifically verifiable biological state of harmony.
It is. In a stressed state, fight or flight, your heart beats erratically, right? It's maximizing readiness for physical action. But in a coherent state with high VFC, the rhythm is smooth. It indicates synchronization between the sympathetic system, the stress system, and the parasympathetic, the rest and digest system.
And that shift tells the body at a deepest level that it's safe.
It's safe. It turns off the survival programming.
Hmm.
That measurable shift from chaotic VFC to rhythmic VFC is the physical evidence that the body is now operating at a higher, more powerful frequency. The feeling, the emotion, is literally creating the measurable frequency that allows the antenna to broadcast clearly.
So the moment the heart achieves that high VFC state, it becomes a magnet.
The magnet we've been looking for. This is the magnetic charge principle, where the power of the heart merges with the blueprint of the mind.
So this is the formula for creation he talks about.
It is. We often fall into this trap of believing that just thinking a positive thought is enough. But the sources highlight that thought is only the electrical component. It's the intention, the blueprint.
But it's inert, like an electrical wire that's not plugged in.
Exactly. And the heart is the plug. The heart provides the necessary magnetic charge, the sheer energy and emotion that fuels that inert intention.
So the equation is intention from the mind plus elevated emotion from the heart.
Which equals a coherent broadcast and attraction. It's elegant. Intention, the electrical signal, plus elevated emotion, the magnetic charge, equals the result.
So if your intention is, let's say, financial abundance, but you're carrying the low-frequency emotion of fear and lack,
they cancel each other out. Your personal magnetic field is contradictory. The quantum field receives a confused, noisy signal. The only way to ensure the attraction is successful is to make sure the heart's power, that 5000x broadcast, is coherent and aligned with the future you want.
total unification. So the brain, which is so good at planning and analysis, has to step down from its usual role as the frantic commander.
And become the clear collaborator, synchronized to the master rhythm of the heart.
Okay, so how does the brain get in line? We've stabilized the heart through elevated emotion. Now we use meditation to specifically reorganize the brain's electrical activity. It's all about wave state transition.
Right. Most of us, most of the time, are locked in beta waves. That's the high alert state. It's associated with stress, analysis, decision-making, self-criticism.
It's the survival operating system.
It is. We're constantly analyzing the external environment for threats. And you cannot create radical change from beta. It's impossible.
So the practice is designed to slow the brain down.
First, you transition into alpha waves, which is a calmer, more present state. And then, crucially, you descend into theta waves.
Theta, the creative, dreamlike state.
The hypnagogic state, yes. This is the gateway to the subconscious mind, where all the old programming, the habits, the automatic reactions, that's where they all reside.
And why are theta waves so critical for this supernatural work?
Because your subconscious mind is essentially running 95% of your life on autopilot. It's all based on stored past experiences.
Right.
If you try to change those programs while you're in high alert beta, your critical mind just intervenes immediately. It says, that's unrealistic. You can't do that. Remember what happened last time.
The door is closed.
Slam shut. By slowing the waves down to theta, you bypass that critical faculty. You gain access to the operational system itself.
And the ideal brain state isn't just slow, it's also harmonious. This is the whole brain coherence concept.
Yes, where the logical left hemisphere and the creative spatial right hemisphere, they stop fighting each other. The analysis stops blocking the vision. They start to work together seamlessly.
And this state makes you highly suggestible.
Highly suggestible, but, and this is a vital safety mechanism the sources emphasize, in this deep, coherent state, you become highly suggestible primarily to your own thoughts and intentions.
As long as they are fueled by the coherent heart.
Exactly. The noise of external suggestions and fear loses its power.
That distinction is incredibly important.
Yeah.
It means the coherence itself acts as a kind of filter. You're not just opening yourself up to any old suggestion.
Right. You're not susceptible to outside negativity. You're only maximizing your potential for self-reprogramming. You're installing the software of your desired future directly onto the hard drive, and it's fueled by that massive magnetic charge from the heart. And that sequence completes the biological preparation for the deep shift.
Okay, so we've established the goal. Heart-brain coherence. But for so many people, coherence is blocked. It's blocked by years of stored stress, trauma, emotional baggage. The body itself is just locked up.
It is.
And this material provides specific advanced techniques to release that trapped energy and physically prepare the body for what they call the ultimate mystical experience.
The first advanced step involves a biological reinterpretation of the traditional energy centers, or chakras.
Right. And Dispenza is very careful to anchor this concept in anatomy.
He is. He links these centers directly to the body's main nerve plexuses and endocrine glands. This moves the whole discussion from pure spirituality into, functional physiology.
And the most important organizational principle here is the division between the high-frequency and low-frequency centers.
Precisely. The sources designate the three lower centers, the ones associated with basic needs like digestion, elimination, and sexual drive,
Right.
as the survival centers. They govern the primary needs of the body to stay alive and safe.
And the critical insight is that for most people living under chronic stress or fear or insecurity, the body's energy is just bottlenecked there.
It's entirely trapped in these lower centers. And this energy isn't neutral. It's stored as emotional residue, guilt, shame, fear of lack, resentment, the constant need for control or external validation.
It's the energetic cost of survival, constantly running in the background.
And it means the body is perpetually recycling the energy of the past. If your energy is trapped in these lower centers, it can't be used for creative purposes. It's all tied up running the fleeing the predator program.
Like a computer system that has all its resources dedicated to running a continuous virus scan and a firewall.
A perfect analogy. The resources are just depleted. So the meditation process is specifically designed to intentionally redirect this energy.
Oh.
It involves sequentially placing your attention on each center, breathing into it, and consciously blessing it to activate it and clear out the blockages.
So the process of blessing these centers isn't about ignoring them or making them go away.
No, it's about giving them the energy of love and appreciation. And that act frees up the emotional energy that's trapped there.
You're transforming survival energy
The energy that's fueling the fear.
into creative, love-based energy.
Exactly. And that energy can then be moved up the spine toward the higher centers, and ultimately it's used to feed the brain for the peak experience. The whole goal is the ascent, freeing the energy of the past to power the potential of the future.
But freeing that energy and moving it upwards requires a powerful, specific lever.
It does.
And this is where the mechanics of the breath come in. And this is often described as the most demanding physical part of the entire practice. It's not a gentle breath.
No, it's a rigorous, bellows-like technique,
Uh-huh.
and it's used explicitly to create an internal physical shift.
It's physically challenging because it's supposed to create a physiological effect, not just relaxation.
Absolutely. The technique is a highly precise three-part sequence. First, you inhale deeply while engaging the perineum and the lower abdominal muscles, a strong root lock. You are literally sealing the energy at the base. Okay, second, while you're inhaling, you're instructed to visualize the energy being pulled from the base of the spine all the way up the central channel, straight towards the brain.
And then the third part.
The third, and this is the crucial part, you hold the breath while powerfully tightening and squeezing those contracted muscles. You're generating extreme internal pressure to essentially force or push the energy up into the head.
Okay, why this intense squeezing action? Why is the pressure so important? This isn't just visualization, is it? This is a measurable physical process related to fluid dynamics in the body.
It absolutely is. The intense muscular contraction combined with holding the breath significantly increases what is known as intrathecal pressure.
We should probably unpack that term.
We should.
Yeah.
The intrathecal space is the area that surrounds your spinal cord and your brain, and it's filled with cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. By using this specific breath technique, you are turning your lower body into a kind of hydraulic pump. You are physically increasing the pressure within that space, which causes a measurable physical push of the CSF fluid up the spinal column and into the brain.
So it's a mechanical lever.
A mechanical lever designed to move fluid and energy.
So the CSF rushing into the head is essentially providing an electrical or chemical stimulation to the brain. We're using the body's own internal architecture, the pressure, the fluid, to prime our consciousness. We're not relying on external chemicals or stimulation.
That is the elegance of the system.
Yeah.
The physical action is the key that unlocks the mystical state. It allows the consciousness to shift away from the body's usual stressed autopilot. And now the breath provides the actual electrical surge needed to activate the final piece of the puzzle,
The brain's antenna.
the brain's antenna.
Okay, so this journey has been pretty rigorous. The heart is coherent, the brain is slowed, the trapped energy has been liberated, and now there's this physical hydraulic push directed right at the head. We are now moving into the most, quote-unquote, supernatural phase, the intentional activation of a specific tiny gland in the center of the brain.
The pineal gland. The sources refer to it as the body's specialized antenna. In ancient texts, it's sometimes called the seat of the soul.
And its function is to act as a receiver and a transducer.
A transducer, yes, meaning it connects with the non-material quantum field, and then it translates that information into a form the brain can actually process.
And the specific biological detail about its structure is the linchpin. It's what connects the breath technique to the experience that follows. The pineal gland contains microscopic crystalline structures.
Oh, calcite crystals.
And these crystals aren't just decorative. They are the key to the physical activation. This is where we need to introduce a physics concept, the piezoelectric effect. Can you explain that in simple terms? Why do those crystals matter when we introduce pressure?
Certainly. Think of a common device, like the clicker that lights a gas grill or a modern cigarette lighter. When you press the button, you're applying mechanical stress. You're squeezing a small crystal inside.
Okay.
That mechanical pressure immediately generates an electric spark. That's the piezoelectric effect in action. Electricity generated from pressure.
So now apply that concept internally.
Right. When that intense breath technique increases the intrathecal pressure, that physical squeezing action is transmitted to the fluid surrounding the brain. And that pressure causes a piezoelectric activation of those calcite crystals within the pineal gland.
So you are literally generating an electric charge inside the pineal gland through a mechanical, physical action orchestrated by your own breath.
You're flipping the switch. You're turning the antenna fully on.
That is fascinating. It takes this esoteric idea of activating a third eye and grounds it in measurable physical science.
Yeah.
The body is self-stimulating.
It is. And once that antenna is generating its own electricity and is fully activated, the pineal gland can perform its primary job, transduction.
Translating the information.
It translates the information it receives from the quantum field, which arrives as non-tangible waves or frequencies, into a tangible experience that the human brain can understand.
What does that translation actually look like to the person who's going through the experience?
It manifests as profound internal imagery. It's often described as a vivid waking dream. Participants report incredible visions, intense light, or most importantly, an overwhelming physical feeling of unity, connectedness, and transcendence.
So that's the brain registering the frequency of the unified field and processing it as visual and emotional reality.
Yes, and there's a biological component here as well, related to specific compounds that get released. The activation is said to release melatonin metabolites.
Okay.
And the sources suggest that these metabolites are precursors to substances with powerful psychedelic properties, most notably DMT, which is naturally produced by the brain.
So the suggestion is that the body, when it's properly primed through coherence, energy liberation, and physical stimulation, has the ability to self-generate the very compounds that induce these transcendent, ego-dissolving mystical experiences.
Which is the peak experience of becoming supernatural, achieving genuine unity, but free of any external substances.
And the ultimate objective of that is dissolving the feeling of separation.
Because that feeling of being separate is what defines the survival state. I am separate, therefore I am vulnerable, therefore I must fear.
When you experience profound unity, the feeling of fear and lack simply cannot exist at the same time. The past dissolves, and only the infinite potential of the present moment remains.
And this process culminates in this incredible unifying experience. But here's the challenge, and this is where so many spiritual practices fail. Integration. Does it stick?
Right. If you revert to your old stress patterns the moment you open your eyes, then the whole experience was just a temporary high. The material addresses this very explicitly through integration practices.
Because the transformation is only complete when the internal work translates seamlessly into your external life. You have to take that state of being off the cushion and into the chaos of the world. And that's the purpose of the walking meditations.
Right. And this practice is done with eyes closed initially, but then with eyes open, fully engaged with the world.
It forces the individual to maintain that coherent heart-brain state and to sustain the feeling of their future self, that new identity defined by unity and potential, while the body is in motion.
That sounds incredibly difficult. I mean, if I'm maintaining a state of love and gratitude in a quiet room, and then I step out into rush hour traffic and someone cuts me off, doesn't my body just immediately revert to its programmed beta wave fight or flight state? Doesn't that neutralize all the work?
That is precisely the ultimate test, and it's the source of the difficulty. The body loves familiarity. It loves the programming of the past, even if that programming is painful.
So when you're suddenly triggered,
cut off in traffic, criticized by a colleague, the body instantly tries to pull you back down to the survival centers. The whole goal of the walking meditation is rigorous rehearsal. It's maintaining the coherence despite the external stimulus.
So if you can master your internal state while your body is actively moving, reacting, engaging with the real world.
You are biologically solidifying that new self. You are demonstrating to the body that this new high-frequency state of being is now the default operating system, not just some fragile holiday from reality.
You're teaching the body to trust the mind's intention rather than just reacting to the environment.
And the validation for this comes not just from anecdotal experience, but from the hard scientific data that's been collected during the advanced workshops.
Right. The evidence of measurable, rapid biological change is one of the most provocative aspects of this material. We're talking about epigenetics.
We are. Epigenetics is the study of how your environment, and crucially your internal state and behavior, can influence which of your genes are expressed, which ones are turned on or off without changing the underlying DNA sequence. This is the mechanism for biological change.
And the reported findings from workshop participants, after just a few days of these intense meditations, they're genuinely stunning.
They are. The changes aren't measured over months or years. They're reportedly documented after just 4 days of these practices.
4 days. That's an astonishing timeline when you compare it to traditional medical or psychological interventions. What specific shifts are reported?
The sources report measurable changes in gene expression. On the negative side, participants were documented as turning off genes associated with stress, inflammation, and disease.
So they were shutting down the biological programs that keep the body in a chronic state of emergency.
Exactly. And conversely, they were turning on genes related to repair, growth, and tumor suppression.
So that's the key biological insight. When the body moves out of that survival state, when that profound feeling of safety and unity is maintained.
It stops diverting energy toward fear and self-protection, and it immediately begins diverting resources toward regeneration and thriving. The body can now fully enact its designed potential for self-healing.
And this biological evidence is supported by a massive amount of case studies, right? Anecdotal evidence from the workshop participants.
A huge amount. And the depth and breadth of the reported spontaneous remission suggests that these techniques are accessing some universal root cause, not just treating disparate symptoms.
And the reported recoveries, they range across multiple domains.
It indicates a global system reset, not a localized fix. We're talking about improvements in structural issues like scoliosis, complex systemic problems like various autoimmune diseases, neurological disorders like Parkinson's, severe chronic depression, trauma.
Even highly complex sensory issues like reported cases of blindness.
Exactly. Cases cited as having improved or healed spontaneously. For traditional medicine, these are statistical anomalies. Within this framework, they're viewed as the expected result of liberating the body from the energetic constraints of the past.
It fundamentally reframes the nature of illness. The idea isn't that the body is inherently flawed.
It's just that it's running on the wrong power source. We interfere with the natural design to heal by constantly broadcasting a survival frequency, which tells the body to conserve energy and prepare for a fight, not to repair cellular damage.
So let's bring the synthesis to a close by looking at the ultimate outcome. Once health is restored and internal coherence is maintained, what happens to a person's external reality? What's the large-scale implication of this work?
Well, when an individual aligns their personal energy field through sustained heart-brain coherence, their relationship with the external world shifts, fundamentally. The sources refer to this resulting external organization as synchrodestiny.
Synchrodestiny.
It's the attraction principle perfected. Because your internal magnetic field is coherent, it's strong, and it's broadcasting a high-frequency signal of your desired future. You stop the painful, effortful process of actively searching or chasing opportunities.
That effort is part of the survival state.
It is. Instead, opportunities and necessary resources begin to find you.
It's the difference between rowing a boat upstream against a strong current and simply letting the current carry you exactly to your destination.
A perfect analogy. The synchronicities, the coincidences, they start appearing naturally because your magnetic field is now perfectly tuned to the frequency of your desired reality. The outside world is simply reorganizing itself to reflect the clarity and order of your internal state.
It's the ultimate validation that your consciousness is the primary driver of your reality.
You move from forcing outcomes to allowing them to organize themselves around your coherent state of being.
So the key isn't the action you take, it's the frequency from which you take the action.
Exactly. If you act from fear, you attract friction. If you act from wholeness, you attract flow. And this transition of external flow is rooted in the ultimate shift in identity.
The paradigm shift from the victim state to the creator state.
And it's not a subtle psychological change. It's a radical, energetic identity change. And it's dictated by where your energy is sourced from.
So let's define those two identities clearly, using the context of the energy centers we talked about earlier.
Okay. The victim state is defined by living from the past. Your identity, your present decisions, your emotional output, it's all dictated by the stored emotional energy. The shame, the trauma, the lack, all trapped in those lower survival centers.
You're constantly reacting to your past programming, blaming external forces for your internal feelings.
Right. If you get cut off in traffic, the reaction is not a choice. It's a programmed response.
And the creator state.
The creator state, conversely, is defined by living from the quantum field. Your identity is dictated by future potential, fueled by the vast, liberated energy you've moved into your higher creative centers. You're proactive, defined by intention, not past reaction.
So if you get cut off in traffic, your coherent state is maintained, and you choose your response based on your desired future self, not your old programming.
Precisely. And it's powerful to note that the material makes a point of saying the end goal is not material gain. It's not about getting things. That's just the secondary byproduct of the energetic shift.
So what is the primary objective?
The primary objective, the true definition of becoming supernatural, is achieving the internal, profound experience of wholeness and unity.
The mystical experience we talked
The
about.
mystical experience, yes.
Yeah, there.
Once that feeling of profound unity is internalized, once you feel the wholeness of the quantum field and the freedom from the survival state, the mind is fundamentally liberated. You realize that you already are everything you desire to be.
And that realization is what results in the freedom of body and mind from the energetic chains of the past.
That liberation is the final destination.
This deep dive into the architecture transformation it's been immense, covering everything from fluid dynamics in the spine to instantaneous gene expression. It really does present a comprehensive, actionable blueprint for anyone seeking radical change.
It really does.
If we synthesize the most powerful takeaways, I'd highlight 3 that offer the most surprising insight. First, just the quantifiable physical reality of the heart's power.
The 5000x magnetic field.
It completely overturns the hierarchy of power in the body. Second, the concrete physical mechanics of the breath technique, using perineum contraction to increase intratactical pressure, literally forcing CSF fluid to electrically stimulate the pineal gland's calcite crystals. It's just wild. And third, the stunning data on epigenetic gene switching being reported in just 4 days.
The speed of it.
The speed at which the body can shift from a state of disease to a state of repair. It's incredible.
These concepts really emphasize that mastering your internal state is the ultimate human skill. It's not a spiritual hobby. It's the most sophisticated form of biological engineering available to us.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener, to mull over long after this deep dive is complete.
If our individual biology is indeed built as a highly sensitive antenna for the quantum field, what does it mean for society when collective coherence is achieved? And more personally, if the energy is always there, what limits are we unknowingly placing on our own physical health and creative potential every single day by continually allowing our consciousness to be trapped in the survival centers of the past?
So reflect on the concepts we discussed today. Consider which of the techniques, the rigorous demands of heart coherence, or the intense physical breathwork presents the biggest immediate challenge, and therefore the biggest opportunity for your personal change. That point of friction is often exactly where the real work begins.